Hello, I am Sarthak Chakraborty and I will be explaining to you the paper A Critic of NC-SQL Isolation Levels. So let's get started. So first is the introduction. So what is isolation? So isolation is basically a mechanism that guards against inconsistent database state due to concurrent transaction. So let's say two transactions T1 and T2 are occurring concurrently, and if they access the same data item, say let's say X, and then there might be some inconsistencies based on how the executions are actually occurring in memory. So if say if they are not serialized, that is T1 does not occur first, and if like T1 and T2 some instructions of T1 and T2 gets mixed up together, then there might lead to some inconsistent database state. So isolation is basically a kind of locking mechanism that guards against this. So in the ANSI SQL 92 specifications, they have described phenomena. So phenomena are basically some operation subsequences that might lead to an anomaly. So they have defined three of those phenomena. So one is the dirty read, where reading a data item that never really existed. The non-repeatable read, where rereading a data item shows inconsistent values. And phantom is the rereading data based on search condition returns a different set of items. So I'll explain to you in detail about these three phenomena. So first is the dirty read. So the definition says that transaction T1 modifies a data item. Another transaction T2 then reads that data item before T1 performs a commit or rollback. If T1 then performs a rollback, T2 has read a data item that was never committed and so never really existed. So basically, so let's say this is P1 and this is the set of executions. So transaction 1 writes data item X, and then transaction 2 reads it. So if any and then any of these transaction 1 might commit or abort, and transaction 2 might commit or abort in any order. This can happen. So it basically means that right, transaction 1 has written X and transaction 2 has read X. But if transaction 1 then after transaction 2 has read X, if transaction 1 then aborts, then this may lead to transaction 2 might read data X which was never really existed, or might read a different value. So however, the interesting thing to note is that statement of that was defined in the ANSI SQL specifications does not insist that T1 aborts. So this is what is interpreted according to the statement in specifications. So this is a loose interpretation. That is something an anomaly might occur or may not occur. However, this is anomaly labeled as A1. So basically it is write 1x, read 2x, and the transaction 1 aborts. So that is the performs a rollback. So that is an actual anomaly that might occur. So the next phenomenon is the non-repeatable read. So transaction T1 reads a data item. Another transaction T2 then modifies or deletes that data item and commits. If T1 then attempts to reread the data item, it receives a modified value or discovers that the data item has been deleted. So this is phenomena 2. So where read 1x, write 2x, and then anything can happen in this order according to the definition and ANSI SQL specifications. So this means that after the write to X, if the transaction 1 again then reads an X, it will get a different value as compared to the first read. So that this is an inconsistent state for T1. That is, T1 is reading the same thing but it is without writing, but it is getting different values. So this is the actual anomaly that will occur. So read 1, write 2, the transaction 2 commits, and then transaction 1 reads and then commits. So this is reading a different than this read. So the last is the phantom. So transaction T1 reads a set of data items satisfying some search condition, and transaction T2 then creates data items that satisfy T1 search condition and commits. If T1 then repeats its read with that same search condition, it gets a set of data items different from the first read. So in P3, say read 1 based on some predicate or select statement and reads a set of rows, and then transaction 2 writes y in based on that select statement. So select something, so update something where that clause gets satisfied as P. And after this, if transaction 1 again reads an item, reads based on that same search condition, it will get a different set of rows. That is, it will get Y inserted after this statement, which was not there in the first read. So the actual anomaly will occur when read 1, write 2, commit 2, and then again read 1 based on P. So Y will be the extra row over here. So based on these phenomena, the isolation levels were defined by ANSI SQL 92. So at first, the most basic is the uncommitted, where all three phenomena are possible. That is, there is no guard against any of them. The read committed is one where there is a guard against the dirty read. Repeatable read is the one when there is a guard against dirty read and the fuzzy read, and the anomaly serializable is the one where it is the guard against all three possible reads. However, it is to be noted that an execution subsequence that disallow all the three, that is, this anomaly serializables are not fully serializable. That is why in this paper, the critic paper, they have written as it as anomaly serializable. So now we'll see the analysis of these isolation levels. So first of all, we have to define a new phenomena, that is the dirty write. So dirty write is transaction T1 modifies a data item, and another transaction T2 then further modifies that data item before T1 commits or rollbacks. If T1 or T2 then performs a rollback, it is unclear what data value should correct data value should be. So that is transaction, let's say P0, this is P0, and then transaction 1 writes X, and then transaction 2 again writes X. Now if any of these transactions roll back, then during recovery it will be unsure about which X is correct, whether the transaction 1 that was written or the transaction 2 that is written. So this violates the database consistency, and the protection from P0 is also needed because system can't undo updates by restoring the before images. That is what I said. That is why if it performs a rollback, it cannot restore the before images because it doesn't know which is the correct data value. However, it's noted that only the ANSI serializable isolation level, that is this isolation level, excludes this anomalous behavior. However, the other includes this anomalous behavior in the actual ANSI SQL specifications. So the remark is, new thing is that remark is ANSI SQL isolation should be modified to require a P0 for all isolation levels, not just only ANSI serializable. So basically, now next thing is that whether the ANSI SQL specification actually meant phenomena or anomaly, or so which is correct. Which we know that phenomena is a looser interpretation, while anomaly is a stricter interpretation. That is, in this case, it will occur. That is, inconsistent state will occur, but in the phenomena, it might or might not occur. So basically, phenomena is basically phenomena guards against larger set of execution of statements, that anomaly. So let's consider this history. History is basically a subsequence. So it is what this history is that T1 is transferring 40 from X to Y while maintaining that X plus Y is 100, but T2 reads an inconsistent state, that is X plus Y is 60. So transaction 1 reads 50 and then writes 10, and then again context switch, and transaction 2 reads X10 because it was written by transaction 1, and reads Y is 50. So here X plus Y is 60 and then commits, and after that read 1 again reads that Y is 50 and writes Y is 90. So it's basically for transaction 1 X plus Y is 100, but for transaction 2 X plus Y is 60. So this is an inconsistent state. But surprisingly, none of the anomalies as described before A1 is violated. So A1 is not violated because there are no transaction aborts over here. A2 is not violated because there is no reread of the same data item, and also A3 is not violated because there is no relevant predicate change, that is there is no insertion based on some predicate. However, in this case the P1 is violated. So this is a set of executions where none of these gets violated, but P1 is violated. Similarly, so this is a transaction where it is reading x as 50 and transaction 2 reading x as 50 and then writing x as 10 and reading y as 50 and then writing y as 90. So it's basically transfers 40 and commits, and reads y as 90. So for transaction 1, so x plus y becomes 50 plus 90 as 140. And in this case, in the down below one, so read one based on a predicate, and then transaction 2 inserts y based on some predicate, and then transaction 2 reads z. Z is basically the number of count of elements based on this search predicate. So let's say that is 10. So it reads 10 and then writes z as 10 and then commits. But when transaction 1 reads, it will read 10, but before it has also read the p over here where it has found 9, because y was not inserted over there. So in both of these cases, A1, A2 and A3 is not violated. However, P2 is violated in the upper one and P3 is violated in the lower one. So we can basically say that stricter interpretations, that is A1, A2 and A3, have unintended weaknesses, and the correct interpretations are the loose ones that ANSI SQL had meant actually. So based on this 4 phenomena, that is the dirty write, dirty read, fuzzy read and the phantom, so these are the isolation levels. So serializable it is not. So if we include dirty write as, if we modify the ANSI SQL with the specification, that is this is not possible, this shouldn't be possible in any of them, then it makes that serializable it is not possible in all. Repeatable read, it is not, only phantom is possible, and committed only fuzzy read and phantom is possible, and in read uncommitted dirty write is not possible. So now we'll come to other isolation levels that has been defined in this paper. So first is the cursor stability. Again, we'll describe a new anomaly. So let's say this is the lost update anomaly. So the lost update anomaly occurs when a transaction T1 reads a data item and then T2 updates a data item, possibly based on a previous read, and then T1 based on its earlier data value updates a data item and commits. So P4 is read 1x, then transaction 2 writes x, and then transaction 1 writes again x. So basically a transaction history can be in this way, where transaction 1 reads x as 100, transaction 2 reads x as 100 and then writes x as 120 and commits, and transaction 1 writes x as 130 and then commits. So the update of x equal to 120 is completely lost. So T2 won't be able to know that it has written x as 120, but it is showing that x as 130. So this is possible only at the read committed level, and forbidding the P0, that is the dirty write, and P1, that is the dirty read, allows the history, and forbidding P2 also precludes P4. P2 is the fuzzy read and P4 is the phantom. So if we prevent the fuzzy read, it also prevents the phantom. P4 is not phantom, I'm sorry, P4 is the lost update. So if we prevent fuzzy read, then it will also prevent this lost update. However, so this is not supported in the previous isolation levels. It is supported only at the read committed level, so below the read committed levels it is not supported. So the cursor stability is the isolation level in which it fetches a data it maintains some cursor and fetches a data from that cursor and then locks the current data item of the cursor, and the lock is held till the cursor moves or is closed, possibly by a commit. And to update a row, it holds a write lock until the transaction commits, and commits until the transaction commits even after the cursor moves on. So the cursor might move on to fetch a new data, but transaction is not committed. So in that case, it will still hold a write lock, but the read lock will change because till the cursor moves. So basically, the cursor stability prevents forbids this P4 forbids this lost update anomaly, and so it is stronger than read committed, but it is weaker than the repeatable read. Yes. So repeatable read is in like total ordering. Repeatable read is greater than partial cursor stability, which is greater than read committed. So cursor stability is a isolation mechanism which is widely implemented in industrial databases. So coming to a new isolation level, it is a snapshot isolation. So snapshot isolation basically in this mode, a transaction reads from the snapshot of the data. So each concurrent transaction has its own snapshot of the data and then reads from its individual snapshot. So read is never blocked for a transaction running in snapshot isolation, but the updates write is obviously blocked, but the updates of the concurrent transactions are not visible to each other. So let's say T1 and T2 are two concurrent transactions, and T1 updates something, say data item X. So that update will not be visible by T2, which was earlier visible in all the isolation levels. And also, if T1 can commit if there is basically this is and T1 can commit if there is no other concurrent transaction. T2 wrote data item that T1 also wrote and committed. So otherwise T1 aborts. So this is the first committed wins protocol that is maintained in the isolation mode. So that is if let's say there are two transactions T1 and T2, and T1 has written a data item and T2 has also written that same data item, but T2 has committed first. Like T2 has committed and then T1 tries to commit. So that will so the commit by T1 will get aborted because according to the first committed wins according to the first committed wins rules, T2 had committed previously. So that data will be stored in the database. So snapshot isolation is basically a type of multi-version concurrency control. So now we'll define two different data item constraint violation anomaly. So in data item constraint violation is that let's say there is some constraint as X should be equal to Y, and that may get violated sometime. So suppose transaction T1, so first is the read skew. So suppose transaction T1 reads X and then a second transaction T2 updates X and Y to new values and commits. If now T1 reads Y, it may see an inconsistent state and therefore produce an inconsistent state as output. So since the constraint violation is that X should be equal to Y, and we name this anomaly as A5A. So if the transaction 1 reads X first and then transaction 2 reads X and Y both and commits, so it will see that X and Y same. So if transaction 1 reads X and transaction 2 writes X and Y such that X is equal to Y and then commits, and this X and this Y might be different than this because this is a snapshot isolation level. So transaction 2 will have a different snapshot than transaction 1 and then transaction 2 commits, and then again transaction 1 reads Y. So in that case it will see that X is not equal to Y and will lead to an inconsistent database state. Similarly, there is also a write skew where suppose T1 reads X and Y which are inconsistent with some constraint, and then T2 reads X and Y, writes X and commits, then T1 writes Y. If there was a constraint between X and Y, it might be violated. So T1 reads X and then T2 reads Y, and T1 writes Y based on some constraint, and T2 writes X based on this constraint. So after this, if T1 reads X or T1 reads X, it will get this value of X. So this X and this write 1 Y might have a different constraint which might be violated. And similar is the case with transaction 2. It might read y after that, and then after it has written x, and it will see that the x that it has written and the y will be will may not follow that constraint because y was written by t1 earlier. So basically, in the if we look at the snapshot isolation, we'll say that we'll see that the first committer wins prevents the dirty writes. That the dirty write is getting prevented because this first committer wins protocol is followed in the snapshot isolation. Also, the timestamp mechanism in snapshot. Timestamp mechanism basically to keep like when it is getting committed and when the snapshot was created. So that also prevents dirty reads, right? Because like it will read some item and then it can again say that again like later read the same item, and this happens because the transaction gets a snapshot and the same data item will not be reflected in that snapshot if it is written by the other concurrent transaction. Also, since transaction cannot see updates of other transaction, it prevents the anomaly A2. That is the anomaly that was caused due to fuzzy read. A5A, that is the read skew, is not possible in SI, but it is possible in read committed, and write skew can occur in SI. So forbidding P2, that is fuzzy write, will also forbid write skew. Forbidding fuzzy read will also forbid write skew. Thus, if P2 occurs in SI, which does not occur in repeatable read, because like if not P2, then not A5B, but A5B occurs. So that means P2 also occurs in SI, in snapshot isolation. But since P2 is getting forbidden in repeatable read, A5 write skew is getting forbidden. So you might think that repeatable read is like a better isolation level or a higher isolation level than snapshot isolation. But in the second case, you will see that snapshot isolation does not experience the anomaly 3, that is the phantom anomaly, since transaction updates are not seen by each other. So any update in the based on some search predicate in transaction 2 will not get reflected in the snapshot of the transaction 1, but in the repeatable read it can experience. So basically, snapshot isolation in histories prohibit histories with anomaly A3 but allow A5B, that is anomaly with related to phantom operations, but allows the write skew. While on the other hand, repeatable read does the opposite, that is forbids the phantom operations, but forbids the write skew and then allows the phantom operations. So basically, we can't determine the isolation level of repeatable read and snapshot isolation. So this is what is written over here. So repeatable read and snapshot isolation can't be judged based on these anomalies that we have discussed, but snapshot isolation is better than read committed, because A5 read skew is not possible in snapshot isolation, but it is possible in read committed. So that means snapshot isolation is better than read committed. So snapshot isolation histories preclude anomalies A1, A2 and A3. Therefore, in the anomaly interpretation which are allowed in the anomaly interpretation are in anomaly serializable. So snapshot isolation is greater than that is, it is a stronger isolation mechanism than the anomaly serializable. So in the conclusion, we can see that this is the partial ordering of the different isolation levels. So this is the least is the read uncommitted, and then the read committed, and then cursor stability, then repeatable read, and then serializable. However, also read uncommitted is also snapshot isolation is better than read uncommitted and lower than serializable, but it is not comparable with repeatable read. So this chart also shows which are the phenomena or anomaly based on which these decisions are, like cursor stability is weaker than repeatable read based on P2. So that is, P2 is getting allowed in cursor stability, but it is not getting allowed in repeatable read. And we can also formulate the chart as what are the isolation levels and what are the phenomena or anomalies that are getting uh, that are that these isolation levels are guarding against and which are not. So read uncommitted is guarding. So all of them are guarding against dirty right, but read uncommitted is not guarding against anything, and serializable will guard against all. So this is a the basic chart, and we can, and so this is the strongest one. This is, these two are incomparable, which are stronger than cursor, which is stronger than uncommitted, and which is stronger than uncommitted. So thank you.